Doesn't it seem to you like everyone is trying to optimize everything these days, whether that be their morning routines, workout schedules, or even how they relax? And I know I tried to do that, especially during my medical training. And like for many people, it actually worked. It really did, until it didn't. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because here's what I can tell you with hindsight, and now in my clinical experience. The more you try to optimize your life, it can work in the short term, but it will also become more narrow and rigid. And it won't be sustainable, not in a meaningful way. Today in my clinical practice, I help my patients get more out of life, not by optimizing harder and more efficiently, but rather by changing their relationship to optimization altogether. And today, I want to share those insights, those tools with you. And for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. I'm Dr. Robert. I'm a board-certified psychiatrist. And on this channel, I make educational mental health videos. And today, I'll be talking about the optimization paradox, why trying to tightly control and optimize your life doesn't always produce the results you're looking for. So first, let's talk about why people actually want to optimize their life, because it's an inherently understandable thing to want to do. Motivated, goal-oriented, successful people want better results. They want to feel more motivated, like they're more efficient, like they're using their time wisely, getting the most out of life. And underneath all this is the very human hope that if I do everything just right, structure things the correct way, then life will settle down. Things will feel under control. But over time, something odd happens. Instead of feeling more fulfilled, feeling more successful, people start to feel stuck, a bit burnt out. And they may also feel like they're constantly falling short of their own expectations. They're no longer enjoying the process the way they think they should. Everything is just about the goal and their inability to get to it. So what happens when optimization becomes the organizing principle of your life? Well, a few things start to happen. First is obsessive thinking. This constant self-monitoring starts to prevail your thoughts. Am I doing this right? Could this be a little bit better? How can I further improve? Basically, the way you start to gauge your life is a constant performance review of yourself. And that's not a healthy way to think about things. And then this leads to the next problem, which is friction arises everywhere. Every decision, big or small, gets filtered through the thought of, is this optimal? After a while, rest even feels like a failure because it's not producing anything. Then all of this starts to compound and lead to reduced self-worth because your self-worth becomes very conditional. It's tied to your output. What are the measurable goals that you can look to say whether you're good or bad, did well or not so well? And all of this finally leads to a warped sense of values, which really matters, like relationships, meaning, enjoyment, starts to get replaced by more measurable things like metrics. And so time with family, friends, relaxation, all these other parts that make up a full life starts to atrophy over time. Moments that don't serve a clear purpose start to fade away or feel like wasted time and cause a sense of dis-ease, discomfort, even irritability. I can definitely remember some moments of that during my medical school days. And throughout this, the paradoxical drop in productivity starts to seep in. So if strict optimization isn't the way, then what is? Well, certainly the goal is not to care less or become passive, but rather it's to change your relationship to your goals and how you exert effort. Because the first step I do is try to shift the perspective from optimization to using more values-based approaches. Let me explain. So instead of asking yourself, what's the most efficient way of achieving these goals? I try to have people reflect on what are their values, what are the things they care most about, and define them as a person. And of course, what are some goals maybe that align with those values? An important distinction here is values are not outcomes. They're not goals necessarily. Values are kind of like a compass. They lead you towards something. I often give my patients this exercise. Pick one or two values that you want your day to point towards. Then you can ask yourself, what's a small action I can take today that aligns with those values, leads me towards those goals? And the next tip I give people that is very difficult for them to implement if they've been doing a lot of optimization is accepting stillness. Accepting a lack of productivity. I know I really struggled with this throughout my medical training because I was so driven, so goal-oriented. Every moment had to be optimized. Everything had to have a result tied to it. That sitting back and just enjoying a day, relaxing with friends, spending time with family, those were all actually kind of uncomfortable challenges for me for a bit because they weren't leading me towards a perfect score, a good next exam. And I try to shift how people evaluate themselves. Not from output, but towards alignment. Did your actions this day, this week, align with your values? So instead of asking yourself, how much did I get done? You ask yourself, did my actions today align with what matters to me? Did I show up even if imperfectly? This reframes success as participation, not just performance. And often when this pressure decreases, our own performance, our output, improves on its own. So why do these strategies work more effectively? Well, one is it reduces friction, reduces the amount of cognitive energy you have to put into these things. It allows your actions to be more seamless and more inherently things you want to do rather than things you're forcing yourself to do. There's less cognitive demand on you, less pressure. And of course, when all those things are improved upon, reduced, then you just perform, you function better. You're more well rested and you can meet challenges better when they're thrown at you by life. When I eased up my optimization strategies during my medical training, I retained information better. I spent more time with patients. I was able to do better clinical work, hear people out better. And with these strategies, people's self-worth improves. Their sense of focus also improves, all by forcing less. So in closing, my friends, when you move away from optimization and more towards a values-based approach, life all of a sudden feels like there's less friction in it. There's less obsession and internal battles with yourself. You start to feel more confident, more in charge. And ironically, productivity often improves as a byproduct. So I'll leave you with this. A life focused around values often grows. One focused around productivity and optimization too often shrinks. Thanks so much for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. Please consider liking and subscribing. I highly appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time.